Chris Yandex, C1 review covering Las Vegas and the world. If you haven't already, please hit that like button below and please hit that subscribe button below to keep up with everything we have going on here at C1 Review in Las Vegas and beyond. We greatly appreciate this coming Sunday, May 17th at 8 p.m. on Lifetime. A new movie will be debuting called Girl Taken. One of the main stars of the movie is actor Eric Hicks. He's here to talk with us about Girl Taken. Eric, thanks so much for being on C1 Interview today. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing awesome. You know, you have your breakfast and a little bit of coffee and the world's great, you know?
Oh, I agree with that 100%. So why don't you first tell me, I love to ask this question before we talk about projects to all of the actors that come on. Why did you want to be an actor?
I think it really comes down to it's in my personality to constantly be exploring and looking for an answer to the question why in life. You know, I'm a really curious individual, and I had gone down the path before of the 9 to 5. I studied prosthetics and orthotics right out of high school, and I specialized in prosthetics, making artificial limbs for a living. And my whole life was set out before me, but it was just too easy, and I needed a challenge in my life. And at that same time, the door for the arts opened up. And I knew that if I didn't take that leap to pursue that, that would be a major regret at the end of my life. And so, you know, I gave up my 2-month resignation for prosthetics orthotics, and I decided to just follow my heart into the arts. And, you know, the thing about the arts that's so beautiful, you're forced to get outside your comfort zone. And that's where all the growth happens. And so continually again and again, I've been putting myself in uncomfortable situations and just learning so much about life and, you know, real purpose, real meaning, and learning to enjoy the journey. And what a wild ride it is. But yeah, really grateful I did. But yeah, yeah.
How did that door open going from prosthetics to acting?
Yeah. Well, my mom had us doing like background work as kids. And so I was in a Jamie Foxx movie when I was younger, and that really sparked my interest in acting, but I was just too insecure. So later in life, when I was doing my prosthetics internship, I was walking through a mall, the Northgate Mall in Regina, Saskatchewan, of all places in Canada. And these 2 women recruited me to do a runway modeling show. And, you know, they're real charming, real convincing. And I was like, whatever. And so I didn't care. And so I'm doing this runway thing, and I like rip my shirt off and I do like a 360 and I whip it into the crowd, and they just ate it up. Winning that modeling thing took me out to a scouting convention in Mississauga, Ontario, just outside Toronto. And I went for modeling, but I said, just for the sake of it, I'm going to enroll myself in the acting portion as well. And I bought the book Acting for Dummies. And surprisingly, a really good book to give you a good breakdown. And after I did that, I won the overall best talent for that convention. And so there was 11 different agencies that wanted to, you know, recruit me. And they said, if you move to this city, we'll sign you and get you going. And I was like, why did I do that to myself? Because I had my whole life planned out with the prosthetics and orthotics. Like, I had a very clear pathway, and I just threw a curveball in my own path, and then I had to make a decision. You know, I wasn't expecting that outcome, but there was a lot of promise, and a lot of people, you know, really thought I had a shot in the industry. And I was like, you know what? I know it's not going to be an easy road. I thought the road was going to be easier than it was. But, you know, sometimes in life, you know, you just got to take that path, you know, the less beaten path. And that's kind of what led us to here with you today, Chris.
Well, I love that story. So thank you for telling me that. That's just a phenomenal transition from one industry to the other. So tell me about Girl Taken on Lifetime this coming Sunday night, May 17th at 8 p.m. Tell me about the project and your role in the project.
Right on. You know, Girl Taken, we shoot these movies fast, and these are 11-day movie shoots. So, you know, these thriller movies, when you're watching as an audience, are intense, but they're also very intense when you're filming the movie as well. Now, this movie follows a girl named Rose, Anita, a woman so Erica Durant plays Anita, Rose's mother. Now, Rose, her father died a couple of years ago, and he was my best friend, Kyle. We did trucking together. She just feels lost. She doesn't have a father figure in her life. Her mom and her are button heads, and her boyfriend breaks up with her on her birthday. And it leads her just kind of feeling a little empty. And my character, Perry, just really empathizes with her and feels like he has a better solution, to create a win-win situation. Back at home, my partner Danny is 6 months pregnant with our child, and so we have a new big chapter in our life. And I just see an opportunity to, like, my wife or my partner is really lonely, and she's struggling to keep up with chores and things like that. And I just see an opportunity to bring the two together. And I think that's where the real story starts. And there's a lot of lessons in this movie for people about, really dialing in and trusting your intuition. A lot of the times you find yourself talking to people, and they may be very charming on the exterior and trustworthy, appealing, but sometimes it just hits our intuition. We get a gut feeling that something might be off. And a lot of the time we don't listen to it. We're a little naive as a species. And so it takes experience to learn. And so I really want the audience to, watch this movie and come away from it, being a little more perceptive of these little nuances and learning to trust your gut when you're in uncomfortable situations. And it's a pretty wild little ride that we take the audience on with this one. Very intense. And we had a hell of a time making it. It's super fun. But yeah, it's wild. Like good lifetime thriller.
Tell me what it was like to work with Erica Durant in this film.
Well, I think a lot of us are big fans of hers. She was Lois Lane in Smallville back in the day, but I actually saw her in Saving Hope, which she starred with Michael Shanks in a hospital drama. And it was just as tear-worthy as, what's that show? That family TV show, Justin Hartley and what does it start with? It ends? No. Oh, what the heck is that TV show called? It's all about a family drama, multicultural, multi-generational family drama, but really pulls the heartstrings, and Saving Hope was that for me. So meeting Erica, I was already just awestruck of her talent. I mean, the woman is just, you show up on set, you do the first scene with her, and she turns on the waterworks like it's just second nature. It's like breathing for her. And so being in her presence, you just felt safe and taken care of in a scene. You knew that she was listening to you, like really listening to you, really looking at you and really taking you in. And her heart is so open and vulnerable that it's such a treat to work with someone with such experience and emotional availability. A beautiful instrument and really special human being. Yeah, it was such a joy.
Fair to say that the message of this project is probably something along the lines that it's just hard to trust people.
Yeah, I think, in my own life, I come from Saskatchewan, very small community where you don't lock your doors. And when I moved to the big cities, I was extremely naive and trustworthy. And I got taken advantage of by quite a few people. And so I think, it's hard to even trust yourself in life. We deceive ourselves so much of the time. So it's like, if you can't even trust yourself, how do you trust others? And that's behavior over time. It takes time to learn to trust someone. But I think personally, this movie really hits home that, yeah, like I said, trust your gut, trust your intuition. If something's feeling off, it's okay to say no. It's okay we're so polite in society. We don't want to offend others, especially here in Canada. But at some point, you got to learn to just say no. And that's okay. And that's not easy to do. It takes a real type of courage to dismiss. And there's a better way to say no, and there's a worse way to say no. But, you learn to say no and trust your gut. And that's definitely the main theme of the movie.
Aside from this project, why don't you reflect on what you consider your, 2 or 3 other career highlights so far?
Yeah, well, I think for me, I did 7 years of non-union short films, web series, features, a lot of non-union stuff, and I couldn't break through the union barrier. There's almost a catch 22 in the union, is that in order to become union, to book union jobs, you have to be part of the union already. And they give preference to union actors. So how do you get a union job if you're non-union? Well, for every job, they have to bring in one non-union actor. And so I would be this non-union actor competing against all the union actors, and they all have preferential hiring. And so it took me 7 years to book my first ever union job. And that's a long, it feels like it's never going to come, especially when you're constantly training and working and trying to reach this goal, and other people around you reach this goal in 6 months or a year. It just feels really, it breaks you down and you start to doubt yourself. So my very first union job was on Quantico with Priyanka Chopra and Jake McLaughlin. And they flew me out to Montreal, and I cried on the plane ride out there. I made a beautiful painting for the casting director, and that meant so much to me. And then to be on set with these really talented, individuals who had been in the game for a while and had a big following. And I was like, oh, star-studded. Wow. And then to do scenes with them and to just play, you realize it's just people just like you, and you're just playing, you're just having a good time. So for me, that was a big breakthrough. But shortly after, I landed that 4-season recurring role on the huge award-winning series Cardinal, which, like, such a great artistic detective series. I really recommend watching it. And then I worked with the director on that also directed season 2 of Bad Blood. And so we already had a relationship, a working dynamic together, and we knew we liked working together. And so when they brought me on, I had a couple auditions for this role on Bad Blood, and I just fit the puzzle piece perfectly. And then getting to work alongside local Saskatchewan actor Kim Coates was such a treat. He's a really intense guy, and he really needed me to bring the intensity. And so I did my best, and he was so stoked. He's like, dude, you crushed it. It was just such a joy, such a treat, man, to get to work on those projects, longer run series, and just getting to dig into a character a little more. I'm just a little bummed that Bad Blood didn't come out for a season 3. They led a little cliffhanger at the end of season 2 where my character gets a promotion, and it was just building up to be a really great season 3, and then it didn't get made, and I was like, but yeah, everyone was stoked for a season 3 on that one.
Sounds great. Finally, what are your acting hopes for the future, goals?
I think for me, it's time I started writing. There's a lot of different interests I have. I'm a Gemini, and Geminis, we like to learn a little bit about everything. We don't know a lot about one thing, but a lot about everything. And I want to bring all those little tidbits of knowledge of life experience together. And so I've written 3 episodes of a TV series already. I'm not sure if it's going to be 4 episodes or 6 episodes yet, but still working that out. But I want to start making my own content and getting my own message out there. And a lot of it has to do with, going within your own mind and realizing how infinitely powerful we are as a species. And we just haven't been clued in fully yet to how powerful we really are. And I want to bring that forward to the audience in a more metaphorical kind of way, where it's not hitting you straight in the face, but it's just letting you reflect on these ideas and concepts while you're at home. And after you finish watching an episode, you just left there thinking, and maybe it plants a seed where down the road it sprouts within yourself, and you get curious, and you decide to take the less beaten path yourself and open up your mind to how powerful we really are. And so for me, that's a big passion, to really help as many people as I can and to share what I've learned with others. And film is such a great medium to do that. Storytelling.
Love your self-reflection, Eric. It's obviously one of your many strong points. Really enjoyed having you on C1 Interview today. Again, Girl Taken airs this coming Sunday night, May 17th, 8 p.m. on Lifetime. Check him out in that. So for actor Eric Hicks at C1 Interview, I'm Chris Shannick. If you haven't already, please hit the like button below again, and please hit the subscribe button below to keep up with everything we have going on here at C1 Interview. And we'll see you in the next one. Eric, again, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, appreciate that.